Okay, so we're making Palindrome into a class. So here's the functional solution right here. And all we've done is pasted all of the functions so far into this class that we've created. So what we're going to do first is we instantiate a palindrome. So when you create a new class, we're going to want to give it a word. So you don't have to do that necessarily, but that would be kind of the sensible thing to do. So in order to do that, we'll override the init method. And the first parameter will be self, because it's always self. And the next parameter will be whatever word or string. Word is probably not the most accurate because it could be a whole sentence, but I'm just going to say word. And self.word is word. So now anywhere in my class, or anywhere in an instance of this class, I have access to this. I have access to word. So I'm going to go first as I'm going to add self as the first parameter to all of these. And then I'm going to remove this because we're not going to call main with self. We're going to instantiate the class with word. Okay, and then there are a couple other things I'm going to have to do. So one, anytime I refer to another now method in this class, I'm going to have to use self, because it will be the instance's lowercase method. So I'll do that here. And here I'm going to have to import the module again, import the regular expression module. And then down here, so I'm going to hold command on a Mac, hold command. Just click on all these. Make them all self dot. And then the last thing.
How do we do that?
You hold down command. This is on a Mac. If you hold down command and then click wherever you want to click. On Ubuntu, I'm not sure how you do that. I'm sure it's doable. And then here, instead of self.word, instead of word, we'll use self.word. And note that we don't have to pass this in as a parameter because this is part of the instance. So it has access to this property because we gave it this property when we created it. So let's just try running it and then we can talk about it a little bit more. So to create an instance of this class, we'll do p equals palindrome, and then something like that. And then I'll print. So that is true. And if I do add something that's not, it says false. So this will work just fine as a class. Again, there's a couple refinements we could make. So we're not really using self here. And we'll talk about some of these differences like class methods or static methods, things like that. But we're really just concerned with instance methods right now. So all these are instance methods. They all take self as the first parameter. And with really a minimum of work, mostly just adding self dot to a couple things, we can convert a functional program into a class. Are there any questions about that?
Since I'm just trying to wrap my head around why, like how that relates to having the book with the different words. So now you're making each instance is just a different word, but it's stored in P. Is that the advantage of doing it as a class instead of a function? I mean, as an instance instead of a function?
Yeah, so to a certain extent, it's kind of just preference for how you organize your code. And again, I would change some things about this if I were to actually, design this as a class. But yeah, so the one advantage of the class is that it's self-contained. So it has its own namespace and everything. It's separate from everything, all the rest of the code. Whereas these functions, I mean, of course, they would probably exist in a file somewhere, so they would be kind of isolated. But this is just like, where's the organizational structure here? It's kind of just a bunch of functions, right? Whereas the palindrome class, it's still just a bunch of functions or a bunch of methods, but they're methods inside of a particular class. So you could, at a certain point, it just becomes an argument about what do you prefer, what specifically are you trying to achieve. But I would say in general, one benefit would just be it's a little more organized in a class. So if we wanted to make a bunch of these, then we would do, yeah. So P, we could make P1 just like we did, we could make 1 book, 2 books, 3 books. So P2, I don't know. And then we could print P2.main. And it's true. So that's basically it. So it's not, don't be too intimidated by classes if you are. It's fairly, it's just another way of kind of packaging things together. All right. Yep. So it's 9:30.